Hi, what's going on, guys? Tyler here, and today I'm going to talk to you about buying a used car. This is my first car, and I did okay with buying it, but there are things I could have done better, and I want to pass those lessons on to you guys, so you guys don't make the same mistakes as me. And there are 8 steps to this, and I'm just going to go through them one by one. So here we go. First step of buying a used car is knowing what you want. If you're going to daily something, and you don't want to pay that much on it, you're going to probably want to choose something more reliable, something that's going to cost you less during ownership, and something that gets better fuel economy. Of course, you can daily drive something nicer, but just know there are costs that go along with it. On a BMW opposed to Hyundai, the oil changes cost more. You're getting worse fuel economy. I go 2 miles every day in bumper to bumper traffic, and I get 15 miles to the gallon. You got to know what your priorities are. Is keyless entry important to you? Is a very comfortable ride comfortable to you, or a sports car? Are you going to want a stick? Or are you going to want automatic? Are paddle shifters important to you? These are all things to keep into consideration when you're looking for a car. The second step is finding the car you want. There's a lot of good places where you can start, but the best places to start is probably Auto Trader and Craigslist. They give you a great variety of cars that you can look at based on certain criteria that you're looking for. A dealership, they're out to buy the car low and sell it for more. So they're looking for some form of profit there, and an independent's not looking for that profit. Also, through an independent, you can get maintenance records, which can add a lot of value to a car, especially on high mileage cars. You may want to know certain maintenance was performed, but then there's also benefits to buying from a used car lot or a dealer. If you have to buy it from a dealer, there are certain things they have to do. If the tires are under 50% tread, they have to replace all 4 tires. If there's certain things that don't make the car roadworthy, they have to make that maintenance. An independent isn't tied to the same restrictions. So it depends on which way you want to weigh that. I personally would always buy it from an independent. Now that you know what car you're looking for, the next thing you need to do is research it. There's a lot of things to consider. The first thing you should look is see if there's a forum based around your car. If there is, you can see what common problems may come up at certain mileage marks, and you can look for those problems when you're actually going to see the car in person. The next thing is how many owners there are. Multiple owners isn't necessarily a bad thing. The first 2 owners cannot like the car, or care for much as keeping it well maintained as much as the third owner. The third owner may have taken care of some problems that you would have to take care of otherwise. Another thing to consider is a salvage title. You can save a lot of money by buying a salvage title, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting a good car. You don't necessarily know who fixed it, the quality of work that went into fixing it, and you could be looking at a really big problem. There's also the problem that not all insurance companies will insure a salvage car. There's a lot of risk involved in driving a salvage car, especially without knowing the work that was done to fix the problems. When you're looking to see how much you're going to pay for a car, the sticker is the last thing you should consider. The first thing you should look at is Kelley Blue Book. Type in the amount of miles, the year, the model, the make, and see how much Kelley Blue Book says you should be paying for it based on the condition. This car had a sticker of $8,000, and I paid less than 80% of that. Now that you know what car you're going to look for, now you need to go actually see the car in person. If you're buying it from an independent, the first thing you need to do is call or email the person, preferably call. Just inquire about the car. Just say you're interested in their car. If they ask which car, then you know that they flip cars, that they have multiple cars for sale. Not saying that flippers are bad, but they're typically willing to make larger cuts to increase their profit margins. Not all of them do this, but you don't want to be caught up in the one that does. If you live in a colder climate, you want to look for rust under the sides of the car. Rust can be expensive and can be, catastrophic to the chassis of your car. If you're buying it from a dealer or a used car lot, you can just call and inquire about the car, or you can just show up. They're typically going to be willing to help you immediately. Now that you're at the car, now you need to inspect it. First thing you should do is open up the hood. Sometimes a dirtier underneath the hood is better than a clean one. A clean one can typically mean that the owner or dealer or a used car lot is hiding a leak or something that was previously evident. So the best thing you can do is turn on the car, take it for a drive, which I talk about next, and then come back and then again look for leaks under the hood. Because by then, once the car is fully warmed up, those leaks will reappear. Look in the back of the car, a differential in the back of the car could be leaking. look at the transmission, see if anything's kind of oily or greasy, or what's common is it looks kind of fuzzy. That's typically an oil leak. Another thing you can inspect is the brakes and wheels. Inspecting your brakes and tires is very, very easy. The first thing you need to check is your brake pads. The brake pads can be found in this housing. This is called a caliper. And underneath, you can see the top of it right here, is your brake pad. You just got to stick your hand underneath and feel, I can see. Stick your hand underneath and see if there's a lot of pad. If you don't feel any lip and you just feel metal, then that means the pads are gone. The next thing you need to check is the rotors. There's a few things you need to check for. The first thing is if they're in good condition. How you do this is you just rub your finger from bottom to top, and if it feels smooth or even just a little bit kind of not smooth, then that's okay. But the smoother it is, the better. If you're feeling like little waves or ripples, that means the rotors are warped and they need to be replaced. If you rub your finger over and go to the end and you feel a decent amount of lip at the end, then that means the rotors have reached their maximum life and they need to be replaced. These are things that dealers are typically going to replace, that they were required to replace, but it doesn't hurt to check. Tires are pretty easy. You just got to see if there's a lot of tread in them. If you can stick your hand in between these crevices and you can't really slide out on the top, then chances are the tires are good. If you're unsure, it doesn't hurt to just ask the salesman, because they'll feel you know what you're talking about, and they may be honest to just say, oh yeah, the tires are bad, we're planning on replacing them. With brakes, even though they typically replace them, it doesn't hurt to check and say something, because when I was checking out a 2006 Audi A4 with a friend of mine, I checked the brakes, and the salesman did not say anything about the brakes being bad until I told him that I did an overall inspection of the car. Now that you've inspected the car and you still feel good about driving it, now you need to go take it on the road. When you're on the road, I highly recommend turning off the radio and just listening for noises. You're going to be listening for springy noises, clunking noises. If the idle stays strong, whistling noises, those are all signs of possible issues. Chances are, if it doesn't sound normal to you, it's probably not. And if someone tries to tell you otherwise, it doesn't hurt to go refer to the internet after you found the source of it, a general idea of where it is. And then ask the people on the internet about it and see if they think there's something wrong. Whistling noise could be hydraulic pump going out. If the engine doesn't sound good, it probably isn't doing very well. Another thing I highly recommend you doing after your drive, is only after, because they can clear codes, is put an OBD reader into the OBD port. These are pretty cheap. They sell for around $50 on the more expensive. On the medium side, you can spend as much as $100, and they can check the car's codes. Typically what dealers do is they'll clear the codes before they sell it, and that makes it hard to see what the car has issues with. So to bring those codes back, you need to drive the car for 15 minutes. Drive it like you stole it. I mean, don't be afraid to pound on the car. If you're serious about driving it, and if that's the way you're going to drive it, then you need to see that and see if any issues arise when you do that, when you drive the car as hard as you plan on driving it. All right, now that you've inspected the car and it feels good, and you've driven the car and it rides nice, now you need to think about purchasing it. First thing I would recommend, don't get too emotional into the car. If you emotionally invest yourself into a car, you're more likely to be impulsive, meaning you're willing to pay more and take larger risks. All right, you've gone home, you've considered the pricing, and you've thought about it. And if you're still not feeling good about the purchase, but you really want this car, and because you have concerns about it, there's nothing wrong with paying for a pre-purchase inspection. Find a good local mechanic and ask the dealer or the individual to take the car there. They're typically around $150 to $250, but if that's $150 to $250, that saves you over $1,000 in maintenance. That's not necessarily a bad choice. My friend was looking at a 2006 Audi, and it rode excellent. In the end, though, we ended up getting a pre-purchase inspection. We found out the car had over $2,000 in required maintenance. So a pre-purchase inspection, although initially pricey, is not something you should cheap out on. It can save you a lot of money in the long run. Another thing that can help you get a better deal is cash in hand, especially to dealers and to individuals. All right, you've gone home and you've thought about it for a while, but you're still kind of worried about the purchase. The best thing you can do is find a good local independent mechanic and get something called a pre-purchase inspection. Basically what they do is they do a very thorough inspection of the car and find out if there's any mechanical issues wrong with the car. It typically runs between $150 and $250, but if you're really serious about buying the car, it could be a really sound investment. My friend and I were looking at a 2006 Audi A4. It ran great, it looked great, there were no visible leaks, but we ran a pre-purchase inspection and we found out that it had over $2,000 in maintenance. Some dealers are willing to take care of that maintenance, but this guy was only willing to take care of $1,000 worth of it, and that made it not really worth the buy, so we walked away. Maybe you get the pre-purchase inspection and it doesn't look good. There's nothing wrong with walking away and starting the process over. It's better to spend more initial time looking for a car than buying a car and then finding out there's a lot of maintenance involved after you buy it. If you're really ready to pull a trigger and you're not going to finance it, the best thing you can do is have either cold hard cash or a cashier's check. To a dealer or an individual, cash is a very easy, quick transaction, and it makes the deal very enticing. If you're looking at a car that's worth $10,000 and you're only willing to pay $8,300 for it, bringing a cashier's check or cold hard cash $8,300 can make it very hard for a dealer to say no. My friend was looking at a car worth $25,000, but he wasn't going to pay that much. He knew the value of the car and only brought $18,000 on a cashier's check, and the individual was willing to sell it for that much. That's about it, guys. If you follow this advice, you won't get stuck with a big maintenance bill after your purchase, and you'll end up walking out with a good deal. The last thing you want to do is walk out paying too much or get a big bill at the end after something goes wrong. Just consider all these points. If there's something you feel I've missed, leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video or it helped you purchase a car, hit that like button. And if you want more, please hit subscribe. And thanks for tuning in.